Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started here in just a minute. Just a reminder that if you want to speak at this evening's meeting, we have a comment card right over here at the table that we'd appreciate if you could fill out for us, just so that we have accurate spelling of your name and address, what have you, for the record, and that way we don't have to ask you for your address, because we are streaming this, and it is recorded, and we put it on YouTube. So if you want to provide us one of these cards, we'll call you up one at a time when we get to the public comment session of our meeting, okay? So it looks like it's
It is now 6
witching
o'clock,
hour.
Mr. Supervisor.
6 o'clock. So when you fill out the card, if you just would like to hand it to, just bring it on up and hand it to Dr. Reardon down here on the end and get it to us. Okay.
Shall we
Could all rise for the pledge, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to Grand Blanc Township Board Meeting for Tuesday, August 8th.
Would you like me to call the roll?
Yes, if you could, Clerk Robertson.
Trustee Hugo.
Here.
Trustee Fike is absent. Trustee Raridan.
Here.
Trustee White.
Here.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Here.
Myself, of course, I'm here. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6 members present, a quorum.
Thank you. And now I will entertain a motion for approval of the agenda. Ms. Hugo makes that motion, supported by Dr. Reardon.
Motion by Hugo, supported by Raridan for the approval of the agenda. Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. At this time, we will have our public comment session, and I have a card here from Miss Lila Butler. She would like to speak. Good evening.
Thank you for your time. We have tried at least 3 times unsuccessfully to get enough signatures on petitions to have our roads fixed. I'm sorry, Lila Butler, 5351 Boland Drive in the Hillcrest subdivision. Like I said, we've tried at least 3 times unsuccessfully to get enough signatures on petitions to have our roads fixed. As you know, it takes hours of time and energy to canvass the neighborhood. I don't think we've even been able to approach all the citizens in the allotted time. Having said that, I understand that Wishing Well has been successful in getting the signatures. I'm sorry, I had an operation on my tongue.
You're doing fine.
I think they are a younger subdivision, younger people, and there are fewer of them, about 150, and we have about 250. So, I mean, those could be reasons, just my guess. We have low participation in our HOA, and mostly get the retired crowd to volunteer. As you can imagine, it's harder for us older folks to trudge through the neighborhood knocking on doors, and a little more unsafe, so we go in twos. It must be done at nights and on weekends to catch the people at home when they're not working. With that being said, we understand that you have the capability, are legally able to use another method. So we are requesting that you hold a public hearing to start the process. We do not wish to be unfair to anyone, so we would welcome dissenters to be able to petition against it. Most of the people I've talked to are for fixing the roads. They are tired of risking injury, walking or riding bikes, and risking damage to their vehicles, both public and private. I have heard stories, but I have no firsthand knowledge of anyone being hurt but flat tires and broken rims and stuff. I think most people would be proud to live in a neighborhood with nice roads, and certainly it would make the neighborhood more attractive to buyers, probably younger buyers, to vitalize the community. We are requesting that you have a public hearing on your own merit without petitions from us to begin the process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Do you want these?
Sure, we'll take it, absolutely.
And I also have a couple from other people.
Okay,
There.
we'll take those too.
Okay, that's fine. They want to, have them in the record, that's fine.
And just so, for the public's information too,
Yes. Lila Butler.
Ms. Butler, just so you know, we listen to everything you say. We might not discuss that on our agenda this evening, but I'll make a comment or two eventually about
Thank
it.
you very much.
But we will definitely take into consideration your comments, okay? All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, also we have Miss Kim Warren, who would like to speak from Moseri Lane.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi. Hi, my name is Kim Warren, and I live at 5286 Moseri Lane in Grand Blanc Township. My husband and I have lived in our home for about 8.5 years, but my husband's parents built the home in 1964 and lived in it for 55 years before it became our home. It was my mother-in-law's dream home. I think my mother-in-law would now be disappointed to see the neighborhood because of our roads. These roads have been neglected for 52 years, not having had any work done on them since 1971. We know pride of ownership should be reflected in our homes and in our neighborhoods, which should include safe, usable roads. Safety should be a priority, as our roads are also used by many school children on buses traveling much too fast for the conditions. My family and friends always comment on the sad state of our roads, and it's embarrassing. One of my new neighbors recently commented that he could not believe Grand Blanc would ever allow their roads to get to this state. We know that Grand Blanc Township has the authority to call for a public hearing to establish a special assessment district, and that's what we're now asking for. Many times in the past, people have gone door to door trying to get petitions signed to get the road work approved and were unsuccessful. Now the population of the neighborhood is aging, and this is no longer an option. We would ask that the township seriously consider this public hearing and special assessment district as soon as possible to prevent any other injuries to people, damage to our vehicles, and for the greater good of Hillcrest residents and the subdivision that we call home. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we have Ms. Cassidy would like to speak. On Jerome Lane.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to talk to you in regards to the roads. They've been bad for a very long time. My name's Ruth Cassidy. I live at 5507 Jerome Lane. And my family has been through this petition thing for 3 times. So this is my 4th time going through a petition like process to get our roads addressed. I live on the court, and nobody is happy with it. Nobody's happy with the roads. Nobody's happy with the way they look and the way they drive. Children riding their bikes and walking, they fall, the little ones especially, will fall at the bus stop because the roads are so bad. I myself have fallen twice. And I know of 2 people that have had to have tie rods replaced. So, and on their car. So this is not a beautification thing that we want done. It's not a want. It's something that needs to be done. It needs to be addressed. It's a safety issue. It takes many hours, like Lila said, to organize everybody and go out and do it, you know, get the petition signed, get both people that live there sign the petition. So it takes a long time, and I'm getting older. I don't want to do it again. So we are asking that our elected officials put something in the paper saying, we're going to get this done. We're going to get this done, please. Those that oppose, they are welcome to get the petitions to dissent, the road repairs. But we need to get something done. They're just horrible. I'm asking all of you to be proactive and to be concerned about the safety of the people of our subdivisions, both Hillcrest and Hillcrest Gardens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And then we have Miss Julia Morris-Price from Moseri Lane. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Julia Morris Price, and I live at 5294 Moseri Lane. And I bought my house when I was working for General Motors, and I was going back and forth to Detroit. I selected where I'm at because I heard that the people in Grand Blanc were very proud of their community. I later moved, later transitioned to Service Parts, which is now, I don't think it's still there anymore, and worked there until I retired. I chose my location on Moseri Lane because of the beauty of the subdivision. I moved in the early 80s on Halloween, so it was fun. But the neighbors were very friendly. The yards and everything were up to date. It was very impressive to see such a beautiful subdivision. And now I don't see that. The following are my concerns. The roads have big holes and are unsafe for walking. I myself twisted my ankle while walking, and my 83-year-old husband, who is now at Regency, fell. And he fell in he hit a pothole and fell. The roads are unsafe for dog walking. My dog does not like to go into the holes where there's water. The roads are unsafe for runners, and we have a lot of runners in our subdivision, old and new, that are running and preparing for the crimp. And you see them running around and trying to dodge the holes. Cars are hitting holes, causing a lot of damage as well. I just came back from getting my car oil changed, and they told me that I have a problem with my tie rod. It has to be from the roads. Newer cars with the low spoilers on them are hitting bottom and causing damage. I had a rental car with a spoiler on it. I didn't want a low car, but that's all they had, so you have to take what they have. And when I returned the car in, it had damage to the spoiler, and they wanted to charge me for it. And being an aggressive person that I am, I negotiated and did not have to pay. I told them our subdivision has probably the worst roads in the township. It is a discouragement for new homeowners or potential homeowners to buy a home with such bad streets. I've had company come from Lansing. I've had company come from Arizona. And they said, "What's wrong with the roads? I thought Grand Blanc was proud." And I said, "We've been trying to get them paved. It is very serious. I hate to talk negative about where I live because I love where I live. I love my neighbors." watching the school buses and the U-Ride vehicles that come by to pick up the seniors. I see them bouncing. You hear the little kids on the bus. They're laughing. Go faster, hit the bumps, because they like bouncing. That's kids. But if they hit their head and because they don't have seat belts, if they hit their head and get hurt, the township is going to be liable for that. I don't want that to happen to us. There are way too many potholes, and safety for the homeowners and bus transportations are at risk. There are several seniors in our subdivision that are over 70 years old. I myself am 78. My request is for a special meeting notifying all homeowners whereby that we can find alternative ways to get our streets paved without the consent of the homeowners. I was one of the people that walked around to every house and trying to get the petition signed in the past. We was unable to get it, mainly because of the cost. But they said our roads needed to be done. Everybody drives on our roads in our subdivision, no matter where they live. If they come down Boland Drive, if they come down Antoinette, they are driving on our roads, and they are bad. So we feel that equal payment for each homeowner is the best to help with the township, and the help from the township and other means to reduce the cost will be very favorable with all of our people. It would be wonderful to hear people say, hey, go to Hillcrest Estates. They've got their roads all done. It's beautiful. Their homes are beautiful. Their lawns are beautiful. We're trying to keep the township as a positive place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak that
Thank
you
you.
haven't had? I got to say, I'm moved by the comments. Some of them are hard to hear, that, our township has streets like that. And in fact, I have a subdivision that borders mine that are in horrible shape. We've talked about being able to initiate special assessment districts without going the route of the petitions. If we do have a public hearing, are all of you going to come and speak again? Okay. All right. Well, it'll be something that our board will take up. We aren't going to have it on our agenda for this evening, but we will put it on the agenda for one of our upcoming meetings, and so watch our agendas to see when that will be. Jude?
I was wondering if we could have somebody do a pacer rating on it for the for that meeting, whatever it happens.
Yeah. Mr. Bogg, do you know if we have any cost estimates for that subdivision, or no?
I know I did one in 14. I don't know if there's anything recent. I have to look at the folder.
Okay. All right. Oh, you do have a copy of a estimate? Is that more recent? Here, I'll take a quick look at it and see. If you can give that to Mr. Boggs back there to take a look at and just see how recent it is, but, okay, well, we'll be in communication and we'll discuss the issue. It's something that we've considered. If there's strong support, we'll consider it even more, so. Okay, we'll end public comment and bring it back to the board. And we have a privileged presentation this evening from Ashley Warner from Rose Pest Solutions, and she's going to provide a mid-season update on our mosquito abatement program here in the township. Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Ashley Warner. I'm the district supervisor for our Saginaw district, and I'm the mosquito coordinator for your township. Just here to give the mid-season update, kind of let you know where we're standing in the middle of the year. Typically, I do it in July, but it worked out for August this year. So we had a mild spring melt. The temps dried things up pretty quickly. We started larviciding on April 17th. where we go out and we find all the standing water that we know of already, try to find any standing water that's new, treat that with our larvicide and our brick larvicide. The end of May, we treated all of the catch basins with the brick larvicide that we typically treat with. To date, we have used 8,427 ounces of the larvicide. That's about 1,000 less than last year. But we had a pretty dry July, so I would account that to that. We used about 6,000 bricks, which is pretty much the same as every year. That usually stays pretty consistent. As of now, we have received 495 calls. That's about 95 more than last year at this time. Right now, we have 16 left to address. So we have 16 sitting out there that we haven't been able to get to yet. I'd say we've got about 60 in the last week or so due to that recent rainfall that we've had. All the New Jersey light traps have had low counts, some of them averaging 0, so we've had no fogging initiated for the township yet this year. We still have used 4.4 gallons of adulticide, which is the fog spray. We've used that on private properties or areas that have had adult mosquito outbreaks. And we have had no positive West Nile tests as well. Of the 495 calls, we've done 440 barrier treatments. So a majority of them, we've been able to put a barrier down on the property. I would encourage residents right now to be paying attention to buckets, wheelbarrows, kiddie pools, things of that nature, because we've had a lot of recent rain. This can spark a lot of the mosquito problems, and so I kind of want to encourage residents to stay on top of that stuff because we've had a lot of rain lately. Other than that, I can just take questions.
Even their eaves troughs, if they're plugged up with leaves or whatever,
Yes.
probably hold a lot of water too.
Yes, gutters are really good for breeding mosquitoes, and they're something that we can't see from the ground, so.
Right. Any questions?
Just an observation, it just seems to me that we've had kind of a mild mosquito summer this year. I haven't particularly noticed them like we have in years past.
Yeah, things have gone pretty smooth. We've been able to stay on top of the water. The rain, even though it's been pretty prevalent in the last couple weeks, we've been able to be ahead of it because we had a dry July. So I don't want to take it all into account for us, but weather always helps, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda items. Mr. White makes that motion, supported by Dr. Reardon.
Supported by Raritan. Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Trustee Raritan?
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you. Under old business, item A, strategic plan update regarding the township campus plan. And in their packet had some updates as far as the look and what have you. I'll try and bring it up here on the screen in just a minute. Mr. Limita?
So first off, I would just like to say, I know that we need to still do from July a complete review of our strategic plan items. And we haven't forgotten about that, but we're in the middle of budget preparation that's due to the board by September 1st. We're holding the meetings, and we want to just stay on the schedule that we had for the short term. We'll get it back out in September. In your packet tonight, you saw some of the most recent iterations of the township campus plan, and that includes the new fire station DPW facility. You'll see 3 different options in there of exteriors, and then the interior, the layout on the lot, and then the interior layout. And this was done through looking at value engineering as well as looking at the space needs assessment. I told you before that it had, we had started off with the idea that it was about 15.5 million, came in closer to 29, value engineered down to 22. My biggest concern was the fire department was shown at $11 million, and we anticipated that probably coming in, much closer to $8 million. We've been meeting a couple times a week diligently to go through to revise those concepts. I believe we're there. We've taken out any additional space that we could possibly take out, but still leave enough room that this building is going to suit our needs for 35 years in the future. At this point, it's been turned back over to Rewald and Sons to rework the finances behind it. I did talk with Plant Brand Cress, our project management team, last Thursday and Friday after we had held our regular meeting. Spoke with them briefly today. I've got a meeting scheduled for tomorrow. We're going to have some new numbers to put in. Unfortunately, I don't have them for this evening. They did tell me that it looked like the numbers were coming in at where we wanted on the fire department for our preliminary budget or for our proposed budget. So that's very promising. It looks like it will be, finally under that $11 million. I think we're about prepared to go into the design engineering stage from this preliminary stage, if that is the case, but that will be to you in 2 weeks. This gives you the opportunity to see the different design elements from the outside and get a feel for the exterior. We talked to them a little bit about once we have a better price behind it, but what we're looking for, we like that front with the skylights above the doors, kind of put in some more natural light inside of the bays. But I think when you look at the interior layout, there were some additional conference rooms that we didn't feel were needed that were eliminated. And we have really combined that space down. What that did is it shrunk the overall footprint of the exterior of the building, and that's where we'll save the most money. It still had all the functionality that we needed inside. So I think we're where we wanted to be from the initial design. Now let's put the price tag on. If it comes in tomorrow, like I believe it's going to come in, we'll be doing a presentation. We'll have the Plant Brand Cressa guys here in 2 weeks for the board to take a look, see the dollars behind it, and you'll hear that we're moving into that next phase. This actually cost us about 5 weeks of additional design, but I'd rather get it right at this stage than farther down the road. It's more important. It would cost us a heck of a lot more on the back end. So I feel like that was 5 weeks well spent to kind of hone this design down. And obviously we toured not just Allendale, but other departments to take a look and try to find where some of the square footages were coming in. I think I told the board that Allendale came in at $244 a square foot, just flat construction costs, but we've seen it as high as $950 a square foot. So there's a vast difference. We also see quite a bit of a difference from the west side of the state to the southeast corner of the state. It's definitely pricier here. I had a phone call from a gentleman who was a winning bidder on the Flint Fire Station, and I believe he said he was at $797 a square foot. We think that this is coming in much closer to $400 a square foot, which would make it in our wheelhouse and manageable.
Any questions, concerns? One of the things, the public might be, some people may be wondering why we would be looking at building a new fire station. I know we've been around that numerous times as a board, but I just want to relate a couple of situations that recently came to my attention. One thing that we're contending with in our current temporary quarters that Mr. Lehman was able to put together in, 2 months or 30 days?
6 weeks.
6 weeks that we put together the current quarters for our police. It's pretty cramped. One of the dangers of firefighting is the turnout gear and all the other apparatus that you're with when you're fighting a fire has all the contaminants that come from the fire. And you want to separate yourself from that as soon as you're away from the scene. Well, unfortunately, the way that our temporary setup is that I don't think you can ever get away from it. You got the fire trucks and the turnout gear and everything all kind of right there. Somebody told me that they were getting some bedding. They said, "Do you see those lockers behind the fire trucks?" They said all their bedding and stuff is in those in those lockers. So every time a fire truck takes off, all that exhaust, covers all the bedding and what have you. So it's not a healthy situation for our firefighters at all. to be breathing that stuff constantly. And, one of the concerns with the electric vehicles and, the proliferation of electric vehicles of all type is that when there's a fire like that, the chemicals that it puts off are even more hazardous. So it's imperative that we get this thing built. It's not a want, it's a must. And I appreciate Mr. Limata, going to the extent with his crew trying to find the best way to build this. We don't want to go cheap, but we don't want the Taj Mahal. And I know that every time I drive by a fire department, I'm looking at it and sometimes pulling over. I was in Northville last week, and I sent Mr. Limata some pictures and our chief. What a beautiful station that is, but I don't know what that came in at, but I'm sure it's.
We need about 4 mils for the extra,
That is one
got to
heck
build
of a
the Northville Fire
Yeah.
Department.
So anyways, we're doing this for a number of reasons, but like Mr. Limata said, this is going to be built for the next 30 years plus, and we need it to be something that's well-built and has a great image 20 years from now, not just looking good for the next 10. So I appreciate everybody's work on the project, and we look forward to moving forward in the next few weeks on this. Anything else on the fire station and DPW building? Okay, with that, item B, the board will continue discussion on the police millage request to voters for election timing and language. I guess I'll start things off if you'd like. I want to hand out something here that I prepared. Mr. Lehman, would you go over what you handed out first, though, if you could?
Absolutely. I told everybody I didn't know that it would be here or not, but we did ask.
Down there in the end for you, Paul. Okay.
I did ask the folks at MERS if they could run a different scenario for an actuarial valuation so that we could take a look at the impacts that our most recent contract negotiations had. And as the board knows, the employee contribution in the most current contract will go down to 11% over the course of the 3-year contract. So what you're seeing here is their estimate with all other assumptions staying the same, that there's a 7% return, everything's the same from a mortality tables, all of those things. You can see that on the graphs on the right-hand side, the projected employer contributions, the solid blue line is the baseline. That would be no changes to the plan, matches the graph that you saw 2 weeks ago when we spoke about this from the MERS valuation as of December 31st of 2022. The red dotted line shows the new projection, again, all assumptions being equal, but the employee contribution rate is locked at 11%, removing the employer contribution cap. Still shows that you would be 100% funded out at 2040 if we continue to follow the same trajectory, but the red dotted line shows where the annual contribution would be anticipated to go. If you just follow that along, obviously it goes up considerably. On the other page, backside of that page, you'll see the computed annual employer contribution under those scenarios. And just from, we're in 2023 to if we were at capped at 11 instead of, I think, the 14 they're at this year, it went up about 290,000. But out in 2029, you would be paying around $2 million. From we were paying about 1.2 million if last year was at 1.2 million. So you're going to see in a very short period of time, it's going to go up to about $2 million in your annual payment for the employer contribution. Again, the 11% is a mandatory subject to bargaining. It is in the collective bargaining agreement. We do have it going down to that 11% during this current contract that lasts for the next 3 years through 2026. But then again, it's a subject of collective bargaining. The other thing is we know that we don't have any new employees coming in to pay in. Our trajectory shows that we'll continue to pay more as the less employees are paying in. It has that impact like we knew it would, but at the same time, a little short-term pain for long-term gain, but still for the next 17 years until you're fully funded, you're going to work your way up towards that $2.5 million annual on a $4 million payroll, in addition to the $4 million payroll.
I hope I'm around to see that day when we pay it off. Any comments? Dr. Reardon?
So, if we were to have a millage specifically, at least part of it dedicated to this, and it'd be roughly about 850,000?
I mean, it depends. Right now, the projection would be that it would be roughly 800 or just under $800,000 that it would bring in per year. 1
mil?
If you did the extra half a mil. 1 mil brings in about 1.6 or just under.
So if we used that and dedicated that 800,000 to, specifically to that, how quick would that accelerate our payoff, do you know?
I don't. Again, you'd have to run the actuarial, everything being the same. If we put an additional $800,000 on, we can have them run that scenario of an additional $800,000, but that's with all other assumptions being the same. So, I mean.
Right. It's a guesstimate. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. I'm just looking at the cost of doing nothing seems to be exorbitant. That's my opinion.
Your costs are going up. There's no scenario that they're going down until we are fully funded in the program. So the quicker we get it fully funded, obviously, the better. You see it drop off in 2040, and that's because you're still always going to have ongoing costs. But it'd be a lot easier to have them at the red dotted line showing, $600,000 or $700,000 on an ongoing basis versus $2.5 million. So the whole goal is for us to get it fully funded as quick as we possibly can.
So with this projection, Mr. Lehman, so just, in layman's terms, basically, in the next 6 years, what we're going to have to pay is just about double almost, right?
Yeah, we're moving in that range in about 6 years. Again, all assumptions being equal, and we kept it capped at 11%, which is also no guarantee. It's a negotiation. Your payment about doubles in that.
And that's at 7% return.
7% return, yes.
Which, how long is 7% going to stick around?
If I knew that, I wouldn't be working.
And this is also based on our property values staying even or increasing.
Yeah, a lot of the assumptions, and that's the thing when we're trying to do this, is you change a set of assumptions and it changes your facts. And we talked about it at length last time. This is MERS best guess on assumptions, but like I said, they revise those assumptions every 5 years. They take a look at it and then revise them. 2024 is the next look. Will they revise the assumptions at that time? Will they lower the return? Will they change? Will there be a change to the mortality tables? I can't answer that question.
Okay. Mr. Kilmer?
Are we taking into account that the first mill of this is a renewal? It's not an ad or whatever. Mm-hmm. We're talking about really a half mil increase, not a full mill. But I think it's important to understand that.
Absolutely. Grab one of those, pass it down. Let's see. Two of them. I made kind of a few notes here that I handed out to the board, that just a few bullet points for consideration. One of the things that I've said all along is that increasing the millage is a last option for me, and it probably is for most board members here. That it's not our first option that we've looked at. This is the sheet that I'm referring to here. You guys get one?
This one? Okay.
So anyways, right now our police budget is about $10 million per year, correct, Mr. Lehman? about that?
That's correct.
And the millage covers about 10% of that. So, you know, the 1 mill that we collect brings in a little bit over $1 million, right?
We had it projected for 2023 at 1.4 million.
Okay, 1.4. The budget's 10 million for police.
It's 9.3 million plus the building bond payment currently is about $700,000, but that's also in the amortization tables is scheduled to, obviously it's higher on the back end and that'll increase it'll be paid off in 2031.
And just by comparison, our fire budget is about $1 million, and the millage is 1 mil for that as well, right?
The millage brings in about 1.4 million and their budget's 1.5 million.
So pretty much the millage covers it. So the current 1 mil police millage, I went over to assessing, I went, talked to Treasurer's Department today, and we've had it for probably at least 20 years, the 1 mil. Nobody really could put their finger on when that 1 mil was established, but it's always been 1 mil over the last 20 years, and we certainly know the expenses have gone up over 20 years. In 2023, the average home value here in Grand Township is basically $227,000 is the average home value. When you assess that at 50% of true cash value, it's $113,000, you know, rounded off. The 1 mil on that $227,000 home value is $113. At the 1.5 mil rate, it would be $170 basically. So a difference of about $56 is what we'd be looking at a difference at it with a $227,000 house. A couple other bullet points. We knew that by ending the defined benefit program, the costs were going to go up to the township. We know it's a great thing that we were able to achieve that our police officers worked with us on that and negotiated that in good faith. We negotiated in good faith that we were going to continue to pay that. And that we knew our costs were going to go up. One of the other things, you know, with ending that defined benefit program, you know, and talking to people outside of even the township, they're saying, hey, to remain competitive, we're going to have to do some things with wages over the next several years too. We got a contract right now, but we're going to have to look at that on an ongoing basis. Another thing to consider is that crime isn't going to go away. You know, we're facing, you know, situations in surrounding communities that want to creep into our community, and we've had incidents, you know, that our police are on top of. But if we're going to continue to be on top of those, we've got to be fully staffed. And it's my contention that in the future we're going to have to add police with our community growing, whether it's our business area and our residential is going to continue to grow. Population's growing. We can't stay stagnant with our current level of police. We're going to have to increase that. We're considered a safe community, and that's why people move here. I believe it's why a lot of businesses decide to do business here. It's why one of the things attracted me years ago. And if we lose that image, that it's not just an image, it's the reality of things. You look at the statistics that the police can provide of the closed cases that we have. When something happens here, we're on top of them. We close the case and find who it is that's responsible. We want to keep doing that and keep that image. We've got to keep our current staffing levels or increase. If we wait to pass, you know, my thought was we could possibly wait to pass the village to look at 1.5 million or higher. But my problem is that it takes at least a year or more, 2 years, to realize the benefit from a millage. You know, and if we wait till we're at the precipice where we saw with Mr. Limita's estimate from MERS that what the payments are going to be on our retirement program here. If we wait until we absolutely don't have enough to pay, we're going to be too late. And you know, where are the funds going to come from? You know, right now we have a lot of amenities we're trying to take care of for our township, but the only place we're going to be able to cut is from the police. We're not going to be able to take it from the clerk's office or treasurer's office or the building department, or I guess we could, you know, cut our parks and recreation programming. but it's going to have to come from police. And I don't want to take that risk of having to shortchange our police. I spoke with another municipality this week who is, I won't name names, but similar size, what have you, similar community in terms of taxable value. And they're paying about 3.85 mils for police. And they said, Scott, we don't have enough. Do not let the crime thing get out of hand because you won't get it back. And your police will get so stressed that they aren't going to be able to do their work because there's not enough of them. And we don't want to get in the shape where we don't have enough police. You know, some of the things we're trying to do in addition to just making sure that we're fully staffed is, you know, we're trying to build the fire department. We said that a few minutes ago. We have a pathway on Embury Road that we're trying to build. That's going to cost us $500,000 right there. It's a $2 million project. Trying to do that. We want to assist neighborhoods with their street paving. You know, we've decided that we want to help pay 10% if the county pays 10%. So we're helping to pave some of the subdivision streets. I overheard a discussion of, you know, one of the fire trucks that we're going to have to replace in the next year or two, Mr. Lemina.
Yeah, it's ready to be replaced for the aerial, and it's a 40-month build, and it came in, we only received one bid. It came in at $1.9 million.
And that's today. We rebid it. It could come back higher in the next year. We have a splash pad that's going to be probably, they're telling me $500,000, but I would like to see a little bit nicer one, so probably closer to $600,000, $700,000. So we've got our current pathway that needs maintenance along Grand Blanc Road. We've got a lot of deferred maintenance from the past 16 years. I think I mentioned in our newsletter recently that, you know, we reached a milestone. It took us 16 years or 14 years to get back to the same revenue levels that we were at in, 2007, Mr. Lemina? Yep. We just now got back to those revenue levels. You know, and the danger, you know, with this chart, this is really good, you know, but it's also kind of pie in the sky. It's 7%, holding that property values are going to continue to increase, what have you. I hope, you know, that it goes this well. But, you know, one slight change in returns on investment, one slight change in property values, those things don't come back immediately. And I know as a board, you know, our job is to look forward into the future and see, you know, what the pitfalls are and what some of the hazards are. And I just, I said before, it's the last option, but for me, I do not want to take the risk of having to not fully staff our police department or take money from, there really isn't any other place to take it but police. So I also handed out, you know, the previous vote on this issue. What does that work out to? About 75, 78, 80% voted in favor of police millage. So our public supports our police. We know that, even without looking at this vote. But I believe that we do need to increase it. Now, will $1.5 million be enough? I certainly hope so. But it gives me a level of comfort that we're not going to have to cut in the next several years, and it will give us some time to evaluate. But, you know, from the chart, you know, I overheard Mr. Lemita saying the other day and I met with our finance director, Mr. Lemita, and it's one of the toughest budget years I know Mr. Lemita's faced here with all the pressures of the different departments. You know, some of it being required by law. The clerk's department is being required by state law to do many things they never had to do before, and is increasing the budget. You know, and that's the case with a lot of our departments, is it's things that are mandated that we have to do. So it's, you know, I would have liked to have held the line at just renewing it, but I believe we do need to move it up $1.5 million. And I know we probably don't have complete consensus here, but Dr. Reardon?
Last meeting, he asked me to hold off before I proposed the millage.
Okay.
But, and so we did. We wanted to get the information from MERS.
Right.
Now, I am going to propose that we raise it to 1.5, with 0.5 going for the retirement. But I also want to say that this isn't us. The citizens will vote, not us. I mean, we'll have a vote, just like every citizen. But it's them that will decide whether they want to do this.
Right.
So it's not us raising taxes. They're voting for their public safety. So, anyway, I'd make a motion, what I just,
Okay. Mr. Laddier, so I don't know, does that change things if we want to devote that half mil to, I like the idea, but I just don't want it to snag it moving forward.
I mean, it doesn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I think given where you are on the calendar and given the discussions that you've had, I think that you don't want to add any language to this ballot proposal that would isolate that half mil. However, if you want to, as a matter of policy, dedicate yourselves to that concept, then that will work as well. And as long as you stick to your word, it will have the same effect.
Does that accomplish what you'd like?
so for our board, I'm confident, and I'm okay with it, but, you know, it's a,
Well, I mean, anybody can move things around. I mean,
Correct.
the next board could,
Mr. Supervisor,
Parks and Rec, you know?
maybe this will help, Dr. Raridan. Your pension, unlike the retiree health care where you could underfund it if you wanted to, you can't do that with pension dollars. You have to pay. When you see this payment schedule here, it's not we won't pay it, you're paying it. There is no scenario where you don't fully fund your pension. And if you go with 1.5 mils, the entire 1.5 mils is going to be going to your pension regardless.
right, I was hoping that if we had anything extra, that this would be in addition to that as well. Like, you know what I'm saying, but I understand, I understand. I mean, if it's too late to do it, to put that language in, then I'm still good with
Our policy.
having a board policy that 0.5 is dedicated to the retirement.
Well, let's debate that at our next meeting, at the merits of doing that.
Right.
Policy, the policy.
Clarification, Mr. Supervisor?
Yes.
So then, do I understand that trustee Raridan makes a motion on resolution 23-24, which is in our packet,
Is that
That's the 1.5 mils.
1.5?
is that your motion?
Yeah, my computer's down, so I don't have my packet.
23-24.
All right,
And
so-
and who is the second on that motion? Okay,
Hugo.
trustee Hugo is the second, Raridan is the motion.
Correct.
May I speak to the issue?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Clerk Rabbit.
First of all, Mr. Supervisor, I want to thank you for the manner in which you have conducted this debate and discussion over the last many weeks and months. As supervisor, as the chief executive of the township, you have used your usual even-handed, fair-minded approach in terms of your approach to the discussion. You've managed the discussion well. I also want to thank Mr. Limita because he has, as he has always done, provided good background on the issue. Anyone who's been watching this debate over the last many weeks is quite aware of where my position has been on this issue. I was prepared at the last meeting to support a 1 mil renewal, and for the reasons that I mentioned, have not supported a half mil increase in the millage. That opposition to a tax increase should not be construed by anyone as not support for our police. Supervisor Bennett was correct in pointing to the fact that we as a united board voted 7-0 to support a collective bargaining plan with our police that ended the defined benefit plan, and this was the version that our own police wanted to see us support. And of course, again, the vote was 7-0, and I was happy to support it. I'm not going to disagree with much of the material that's been provided with regard to police millage considerations, only to say that there are many variables in the equation, and in spite of our best efforts to get a firm handle on what those variables are, there is still a great deal of uncertainty as to whether or not we will find ourselves short. I still believe that we have sufficient latitude and flexibility to take a wait and see attitude with regard to an increase. And part of my confidence in, as I say, in our ability to do that is based upon the great discipline and the decision-making that this board has already engaged in on this issue. And I have every confidence that this board's discipline on these issues will continue. And so that, I argue that we have the flexibility to simply go with the renewal. So I will be voting no on Resolution 23-24, but I wanted my position to be known clearly in terms of my strong support for the police, my strong support for the renewal. But for the reasons that I've articulated over the last several weeks, I will be taking a no vote. And if there are any other folks who wish to speak, well, that to you, would you like me to take a record roll call vote?
In just a moment.
Okay.
I'd just like to say, thank you, Clerk Robertson, for those comments. And I think, the one thing that I'm proud of with this board is that we don't all necessarily, when we approach an issue, agree. And I want diverse opinions on things so that we get a well-rounded view of the issue. And I appreciate everybody being able to debate things in a cordial manner and respectful of each other, regardless of what approach you take to it. So I appreciate your concerns and where you stand on this issue. Okay. With that, is any other comments that anybody would care to make? Okay, go ahead. And
Record roll call.
Do you have a comment, Mr. Treasurer Kilmer?
What are we voting on?
1.5 million, 6 years.
1.5 mil.
Resolution 23-24, it's in your packet.
Yes. 6 years, 1.5 mil. We also addressed Mr. White's concern and that it's going to fall on an election year, so we won't have these off-year millage elections. Okay.
Shall I go
Yes.
forward with
Go ahead.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Raridan?
Yes.
Trustee Fike is absent. Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Myself, no. Treasurer Kilmer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
5-1, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. I know we took lots of time for debating that issue over the past months. Thank you, everyone. Under new business, A, the board will consider Resolution 23-20 for a charitable gaming license for Grand Blanc Township Firefighters Association to benefit firefighters and the community members in need. Would like to have any? Yes.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, making the motion, Mr. White, supported by Ms. Hugo. Any comments? Would you guys like to comment on what you're doing, just for the public benefit?
Motion on White, from White. Forgive me, Mr. Supervisor, who was the second?
Ms. Hugo,
Okay, very good.
we have a couple, go ahead.
But just to kind of introduce you guys, us as firefighters for decades have had a firefighters association. Most of our members put in our own money every month into it. And the purpose of it is to help our own members that are in need and members in the community in need. We support different charities and so on throughout the community. At this point, we're looking at doing a raffle coming up. And this is a blanket acceptance and kind of recognizing that we're a legitimate organization. And that's what we're seeking your help for.
Beautiful. Okay, thanks for the work you guys do.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, okay. Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Trustee Raridan?
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thanks. Item B, the board will consider Resolution 23-21 for a charitable gaming license for a raffle to benefit the London Strong Foundation, who provide life-saving AEDs and training. I think probably most of us are aware of the organization, and they're based here out of Grand Blanc, so the state requires that we approve them as a charitable organization to get a gaming license. Someone care to make that motion? Ms. Hugo makes the motion, supported by Dr. Reardon.
Motion by Hugo.
Yep, supported by.
Supported by Raridan.
Correct.
Okay, trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Item C, the board will consider a motion to approve the purchase of a 2023 GMC Sierra 2500 HD pickup truck from Todd Wenzel of Westland, Michigan for $35,740 and authorize Township Superintendent to execute all related purchase orders. Mr. Boggs?
Good evening. The board recently approved the purchase of a 2023 pickup truck back in May. The PO was approved by the superintendent, and the dealer sold it on us. So we were,
What's that? I'm
the
sorry.
dealer sold it on us, even though we approved it. So it's kind of one of those things with government bid, they're not holding them like they used to. So our lead mechanic, Nick, was able to chase down that was the similar specs of it. It's just a GMC, and there's a $947 increase, but it's on the lot, and we can get it right away. So right now, you can't order anything. They're taking orders from the 2024s, which there's a larger increase for those, which will be looking to replace some vehicles next year.
And the vehicle we're replacing, I saw in the packet, is overdue for replacement.
Yes, this is a 2011.
All right, any concerns? Yes, sir.
Just one point is that I changed the motion in the packet, but it's not changed on the agenda. And if you do make a motion to move forward, if you would include the motion in the packet that will also rescind that previous purchase authorization from Berger Chevrolet, that just makes it clean from an auditing standpoint, that motion that the board had previously made has been rescinded, so that there's no confusion. That, it also makes sure that Mr. Boggs doesn't go out and buy another truck from Berger. Not that he would.
And then the ancillary equipment for the truck was already approved with the previous.
Clerk Robertson, you had a question?
Just a comment. I was reading the packet and the narrative that was provided by staff. Congratulations to you for good work and for those that are identified the replacement vehicle in light of these circumstances. But I could not help but remember that there was actually a Seinfeld episode about this, about taking the reservation but not holding the reservation. And it's really the holding of the reservation that is really the most important part. And I have to wonder whether or not maybe we should send a little clip to the folks that did not hold the reservation, since it is, if I read it correctly, going to cost us about $1,000 more. Is that
$47. $947.
how much?
$947.
$947. We do wish to be precise, but maybe we should send them a bill for $947 because they failed to hold the reservation.
They've saved us a lot of money, though, over the years, that Berger.
Well,
That's part of the government
Oakland County.
statewide bid program.
Oakland County, this is on a My Deal bid.
This one is?
Yes.
Okay.
okay. I just wanted to make that point, Mr. Supervisor, and I'd be happy to make the motion on the issue, if you wish.
With the addendum that we rescind the prior motion for
With-
purchase from Berger.
Prior rescission.
Okay.
One moment. Okay, I make the motion,
Dr. Reardon supports it.
and Dr. Raridan supports it. Okay, very good. Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Item D, the board will consider a motion to hire Johnson and Sons Excavating to install a replacement sanitary sewer for 2295 East Reed Road for $40,221, and authorize Township Superintendent to execute all related contracts and documents. Mr. Boggs?
Yes, so back in 2022, there was a new home being constructed at the corner of Porter and Reed on the north side. The excavator who was installing the private side of the lead was looking for the lead that's provided to the lot. They dug tirelessly, could not find it. We cameraed, we found the connection, but we believe we can't find it on the other end because there's a 42-inch storm sewer that destroyed the lead. So these are new residents to Grambling Township. You know, they bought a lot knowing that sewer was provided, and it's no longer viable, so we need to replace the lead. They're ready to move in. It's almost closing time on their home. So Johnson, I solicited 3 bids. Johnson Sons was the low bid, and they're a local company.
Okay. All right, any concerns? Okay, someone care to make the motion? Ms. Hugo makes the
Ms.
motion,
Hugo makes the motion,
supported by Dr. Reardon.
supported by Raridan. Very good. Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Item E, the board will consider a motion to award Kennedy Excavating the contract for demolition and grading of 5338 South Dort Highway for $18,650, with an option for topsoil application and grading for $8.50 per 1 square foot, and authorize the township superintendent to execute all related contracts, POs, and agreements. Mr. Boggs?
This is for the annex property that we purchased at 5338 Dort Highway, the Stevenson Tree Service. I think it was their storage facility. So it's a dilapidated building. We need to pay to demo it so we can make it, I think we're just going to make it parkland until we figure out our campus master plan. So
Right.
we had 2, the former Director Sears put this on BidNet. I had some RSVPs from some other companies. They never showed up. We also solicited to a couple local companies, which Kennedy was one of them, and a company called Blue Star out of Warren, I believe. And those are the 2 bids that I got.
Okay. Well, it's cleaned up immensely already, so it looks really good. We're getting there anyway.
Getting there, yes.
Those buildings need to come down
Yes.
before somebody actually gets hurt in them. Okay, anybody care to make the motion? Mr. White,
Motion by White,
supported by Mr. Kilmer.
supported by Kilmer. Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
I think the DPW needs their own agenda here. Item F, the board will consider a motion to approve the annual census R&I hosting renewal fee for $16,500 and the annual census analytics enhanced hosting renewal fee for $14,410, totaling $30,910, and authorize the township superintendent to execute all related POs. Mr. Boggs?
So this is our annual cost to host our water metering services, the cloud base, and that's how we get the reads and process the billing to bring in revenue for the water and sewer fund. This is a budgeted expense that happens every year.
Okay. Making the motion, Ms. Hugo?
Ms. Hugo makes the motion.
And supported by,
I'll support that.
all right.
Okay. Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thanks. Item G, the board will consider a motion to approve the design service contract for the Fenton Road sanitary sewer upgrade from Rowe Professional Services for $135,000 and authorize the township superintendent to execute all related contracts, POs, and documents. Mr. Boggs?
Last item, I promise. This is the second phase of the Grand Blanc Roads bypass sewer that the board recently awarded Zito the contract. Part of the agreement of upgrading District 1's capacity was built immediately going in design on the second phase once the first phase started construction. We had that agreement with the Genesee County Water and Waste and the state of Michigan. So this is the process to get that rolling.
So I don't know if anybody's been down Fenton Road lately, but It looks like a whole new subdivision being built.
Yes, all the clearing, yes.
You drive down Fenton Road, south of Grand Blanc Road, you'll see a big entrance. It
Yes.
goes back quite a ways. I
That's a 30-foot easement.
talked to Greg, I'm like, is there something, or Jeremy, I'm like, is there something being built that we don't know about? And he said, that's
We had
the sewer
some
project.
we had some people calling, like, what's going on over there?
That's pretty impressive. So this will be the continuation of
Yes,
that.
this will come from that point down south to the, I forgot what drain that is, but there's a county trunk line that will tie in.
South along Fenton Road.
Yes, yes, before you get to Cook, just south of Holly Springs subdivision.
All right. Okay. Anybody care to make that motion? Mr. White,
Mr. White makes the
supported by
motion.
Mr. Kilmer.
And Kilmer. Very good. Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Trustee Raridan?
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett?
Yes. Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Item H, the board will consider Resolution 2325, adopting a resolution that rescinds the resolution setting the cost hearing and scheduling a new public hearing to consider adding the parcel to the district. Am I reading that correctly?
You are. So this is a sort of a confusing resolution. It does two things. First of all, it rescinds the setting of the public hearing for the cost hearing in Wishing-Well, and it replaces for that date reconsideration of the creation of the district, but only for the purpose of adding a parcel. And the reason for that was when you have parcels that are owned and used by charitable organizations, sometimes it's not clear whether or not they're eligible to pay a part of the special assessment district. And so what we did is we went back through the records and made sure that we did include any parcels where there may have been a question as to whether or not the charitable use, or it was owned by a charitable organization and used for charitable purpose. And so that's the purpose of this resolution. And so we're not going to be reexamining the petitions. We're not, 99.9% of that district is going to stay in place. Nothing's going to change. And then after, assuming that this hearing goes forward without any problems, you'll see a cost hearing coming up, where hopefully we'll see a bit of a reduction in the estimates for the folks in Wishing-Well. I think, are you looking at the fact, is this resolution misplaced
Well,
on the agenda?
What the issue is Clerk Robertson, being as prepared early in advance, he has the agenda. There was a slight change in the last 8 hours on the agenda, and that the county asked that we take off item H regarding the solid waste management plan, but they asked us to hold off approving that, so.
Okay.
He was looking at the agenda saying, hey, wait a minute, we're missing something, but.
No.
Okay, well, yes, it
So-
would be, yes, try and, when you do it 8 hours ahead of the meeting, kind of drop me in.
Right.
But no, okay, so just to be clear, we are considering Resolution 23-25.
Correct.
Regarding the district that you referenced. Okay, so 20, and so this is 8H. 8H. And,
Does everybody understand Mr. Laddie's explanation?
yes, and I was removed from the agenda, or excuse me, the solid waste management plan approval was removed from the agenda, and I became H.
Correct.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. So do we have a motion support, Mr. Supervisor?
Ms. Hugo makes the motion and Treasurer Kilmer supports.
Motion, and Kilmer supports. Okay. Trustee Raridan?
Yes.
Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
All right, thank you. Moving right along, our future agenda items, strategic plan item is the Point North Business District. So, are you commenting on that, Mr. Limata, or?
Not at this time.
Okay. We're gonna hold off on that till next meeting, right?
Yeah, if we can get, again, we still need to do the recap of all of the strategic agenda items, and it could be replaced if we can have that together, depending on how the budget discussions.
Yeah, right now, just for the board and the public's information, what Mr. Lehman does is meet with all the department heads and key staff with regard to budgets for next year, and that it's due later this year, and we need to be prepared. So that's what's taking precedence right now. With that, any board reports that anybody cares to share? Mr. Kilmer?
Yeah, found out something kind of fun and interesting yesterday at the library board meeting.
That's the McFarland Library Board, right?
Yes, correct, thank you. Our library is doing very well. It's healthy, they have a decent surplus in their funding. But on the 18th of August, there's a program called Viewpoint. The host on it is Dennis Quaid, and there have been 2 libraries selected from the state of Michigan to be on this program. I'm not sure whether it's going to be an interview or what form. I don't have as much information as I'd like. But anyway, we are one of 2 in the state that will have that distinction.
Fabulous.
Just to be clear on the record, that's Dennis Quaid, the actor?
He's not my brother-in-law.
I guess so. I guess
Okay.
that's who it is.
Okay,
Yeah, it's.
Yeah,
all right.
I
right.
assume.
Is he running for office?
I'm sure he has the right stuff to do that, but
Okay.
it was a movie
you go.
reference.
Well, I just wanted to let everyone know that we did not have a planning commission meeting the first Thursday of the month. It is being changed to 6 o'clock on the 17th. I also wanted to comment on what a wonderful job the beautification committee has done. The flowers look amazing, and I'm noticing all of the big pots and the flowers in full bloom. And also, I wanted to publicly wish Chief Rennie a happy birthday.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
We're gonna have to sing you happy birthday after we close the meeting.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes.
I'd like to add, I should have put this in, this will be on PBS
Okay. All right,
station.
very
I
good.
don't know what time.
All right. So a couple of things, just briefly, on a sad note, Mr. Bill Thewalt passed away in the last day. He was a great volunteer here in the township, and most recently served on our Historic District Commission. So our sympathy goes out to his wife Joyce and their family. On a positive note, the high school had their open house for their new athletic facility. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to go through that, but it is amazing. It isn't completely finished, but it is really, it looks like a small college or medium-sized college facility from what I can see, and it's just amazing. So that, combined with their economic development efforts, it definitely helps when people are looking at the community to see what we have to offer when they drive by a stadium that looks so beautiful. But there's a lot more amenities besides the stadium that they're working on. I heard loud and clear during our public comment with regard to, the concern with regard to streets, and this board, we've said it is a priority, that we've got to find some way to help do that. And so I'd really like us to, I know we're organizing a committee to look at, the issue overall and what we can do, what more we can do. But I would like to see us put something on the agenda, Mr. Limita, for discussing this particular neighborhood and what we can do as far as looking at a special assessment district and what the Paisley rating is for that neighborhood. So, Mr. Edgerton?
I just wanted to support your comments with regard to Bill Thewalt.
Yes.
Bill was a great guy. really community-minded, a very articulate person as far as the English language, because he wrote letters to me all the time through my service in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. And he did not mince words in terms of when he had a strong opinion on a particular issue. And I always appreciated his commentary because I know it came from a great heart. He had a good heart. And so he will be missed for sure.
And I understand. I received a couple of those as well. But, Mr. Laddie, anything?
No, sir.
Mr. Limata?
So we're working in the middle of the 2024 fiscal year proposed budget process. The meetings with the department heads are going on every day over last week and this week, hoping to kind of get those initial meetings done. At that point, we'll put together all the requests. And usually what occurs in that process is once we've had all of our meetings, we look at all the various requests, including capital and project requests, new vehicles, anything over $10,000, fixed assets. We'll go through, we'll trim it back down based upon the revenue, anticipated revenue, and work through that. We'll finalize it the final week of August, and it will be sent to you electronically no later than September 1st as required by law. Then typically 30 days for board review, and then an October meeting to kind of walk through. If at any point during this process, obviously, the board officers have been involved in the discussions so far on the requests. But for the remainder of the board, if you have any questions, if there's a question about funding for 2024 in advance of you seeing it, this would be the time to do it. We do look at your strategic plan items to make sure and then try to address that in the narrative on the money that's being allocated to fulfill our goals that the board has identified in your strategic planning process. But just, it's coming up quick. If there's any feedback or direction that the board wishes to provide, that would be a great time. It can obviously be amended at any time from when you get it delivered to September 1st. I think I put in the schedule that maybe like the second meeting in November for budget approval, but that gives us plenty of time to review, ask questions, bring in board members or department heads, board members to get some Q&A in. Or obviously we'll always be available should the board wish to schedule time to come in or, to meet specifically about any particular budget. We'd be happy to discuss that. See you tomorrow, Bill.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Okay. Well
Is a
then,
motion to adjourn in order,
It
Mr.
is.
Supervisor?
It is.
Motion by myself, supported by yourself, I presume?
Yes.
Motion support, Robertson.
All in favor, say
Bennett.
aye.
We are adjourned at 7:22 PM.
Thank you, everyone.